How's it going, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. And ladies and gents, first and foremost, let me say, for those of you who are old comers, yeah, that's the right term. I have made this video before, how to fight the Great Maccao, so to speak, in Monster Hunter Generations, but this is Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. I decided that I felt like I could go for a refresh on how I did these videos. I'm trying to actually convey better information. I feel as if I have a better speaking voice, a better way in which doing things. The audio quality is a little bit better than it was before, so I think it's time for a remastering. So why not start right now with the brand new game that's in HD quality on the Nintendo Switch, Generations Ultimate, back here for the first time in America, because we totally had it in Japan for Monster Hunter Double Cross, but regardless, here we go. So first and foremost, let me say this for you guys who are new, welcome. This is Monster Hunter Generations. For those of you who actually came over from Monster Hunter World, this is a good departure from what you were used to. That much I can honestly assure you. Not just in the graphical fidelity, but in the way in which the Monster Hunter games actually worked. This is how Monster Hunter actually works. Monster Hunter World was it was better in a lot of regards, and also worse than some. But some people will argue that point from here to the end of time, but I'm not going to do that today. The Great Maccao. Let's talk about what it takes to actually fight my man and what we can do to come out with that W for sure. Now, first and foremost, let me say this: he is a pack monster. He actually has himself, and then a bunch of cronies who come around and just, you know, mess up your day. That's the whole thing. That's the big draw to them. He's not the only pack monster. There's a lot of them. We call them drones, or we call them greats. He is a great because there's Great Jaggy, Great Baggy, Great Roggy, Great Maccao. They all kind of have this aesthetic about them where I'm the big strong one, I got all my little homies with me. Regardless, the thing is, when you come to fight them the first time, a huge issue for some people that I've actually spoke to is the little guys. Don't focus on them, okay? Do not focus on the little guys. The more you focus on them, the worse off you're going to be, because they're not the ones who are going to really damage you too much. They will get in the way, they will bother you in certain aspects or whatever, but that's not the big draw to this. Focus on the main hunt, which is the Great Maccao. Now, for this video series, I'm going to be using weapons that I will assume that most of you guys will probably be using. I'm using the sword and shield. It's literally the first weapon they give you in the game, so I decided most of you guys probably just kept it on if you're new to the game and you just got comfortable with it. I'm actually using the Valor style as well because it's the newest style in this series. And I figured that some people might want to go with that, and this I'm just kind of trying to emulate how you guys will potentially use these weapons and play, because I'm not necessarily the best in the world when it comes to all these weapon types, but I'm relatively adept with a large majority of the cast. So that's why I'm using this weapon now, even though I'm primarily a lance main. But so far, so good. The Great Maccao, for the most part, he isn't too difficult. You just kind of have to watch out when he tries to stand on his tail. When he stands on his tail, he actually rev his legs up and use a kick motion, and then leap at you and hit you with his, with his feet. Now, that's pretty much the only string to his bow. I mean, that's all he really and honestly does. There's a couple of different things he'll do here and there, but for the most part, that's basically it. He isn't too tough. Just kind of have to stick to around the sides of his body, flank him a little bit, so that way he doesn't give you the straight up, foot to face action 24/7. He will initiate a couple of hip checks here and there. He will actually swing at you with his hands, in case that you want to pull up and he got none but smoke for him. But whatever. That's not what you need to worry about. Make sure that when you see him balancing himself on his leg, that you actually flank to the side and actually attack him a couple of times. If you do this and done correctly, he will actually fall over. And that's a great way to actually do a lot of damage to him as well, because for the most part, it's kind of hard to hit him when he's just jumping around and everything the entire time. So anytime you get a hard knockdown on him, make sure you capitalize on that with a lot of your attacks. So again, to actually do this, make sure that he is actually balancing on his tail at first, and then attack him while he's doing so. He will stumble, he will lose his balance, and he'll fall over, and you'll actually be able to attack him more frequently there. So when it comes to combat, like I said, it's not too difficult. Watch out for the small guys. Watch his motions and try to capitalize on what I said before about him balancing on his tail. Now let's move over to like himself, like in terms of like resistances and everything like that. For the most part, he's actually only susceptible to that of the fire element. He has a -15 to that. Everything else is relatively neutral, and literally just is neutral. So for the most part, if you by some weird chance have a fire-based weapon now, unless you're like maybe a bow user or a gun user, you might have flaming shots, something like that, there's really no need to worry about the elements. What you should probably worry about though is hitting him in the head, which is his primary weak spot. So hit him in the head as often as you can, especially when you get him knocked down on the ground. That's his weak spot. Kind of just really focus your efforts on that if you really can. If you have a better weapon to do so, something like a lance or something like that, where in which if you technically can't hit him too often in the head, just do the best you can. Now let's talk about his armor, because for the most part his armor isn't actually too bad. A lot of people might actually use it, especially those of us who is actually coming into this game for the first time, who decided that, you know, this is the first big monster I fight, let me make his armor. I will say though that making his armor isn't as easy as you like to think it should be, because it requires you to have what's known as shiny beetle, and that particular item is very hard to actually find. And personally, unless you're actually really lucky, I recommend just giving up on it altogether. But first, let's talk about the skills on it. The skills aren't as similar as it was in Monster Hunter World. In order to actually get the skill to activate, and this time you need up to 10, well, you need at least 10 points, up to like 25 points for it to actually work properly. But in this particular case, it gives you the skill known as Volt, which skills that it is rather a skill that increases the attack damage when you use the jumping attacks. So more damage when you do the jumping attacks, and those jumping attacks you can actually use to mount a monster, or if you're using an aerial weapon style, you can use Volt attached rather with aerial to do more damage when you do most of your attacks that are basically air based. So that's actually cool bonus as well. Now the second ability actually has a stamina drain, but there's only 3 points into it, and like I said before, you need 10 points to actually get it to work. So it's kind of like a half-dead skill. You can make the skill actually come out though if you have the corresponding decorations, and funnily enough, this set right here actually has 5 slots to put decorations in, so it's technically enough decoration slots to put in to actually get the skill Stamina Drain. But Stamina Drain is simply just a skill that increases a certain attack's ability to actually exhaust a monster. So if you use something that has like blunt force, like a shield from a sword and shield, or shield from a lance, a hammer, a hunting horn, things like that, it would actually make the monster tire out a lot quicker. And when a monster gets tired out, you can actually exploit the fact that they are tired to hit them in the head to do more damage, etc, so on and so forth, and maybe even knock them out. So that's for the most part the basis to his armor. It's pretty decent armor. Would I personally wear it? Probably not. Like I said, the shiny beetle is really hard to get to. If you actually want to actually get the shiny beetle, you need to actually traverse to, was it the dunes, aka the desert map, and actually farm for bugs, insects, whatever you want to call them there. Area 9 is where you'll find the one and only place to get it, but that's pretty much all I can say about that, about his armor. But for the most part, that's the fight. It's really not too difficult, but if you have any questions actually how to actually fight this monster more, let me know. I'll be more than happy to actually give you guys some information. If you want me to continue making videos in this particular style where I give you lots of information, or maybe even have a different format in which I do give the information, please give me all the feedback you'd like to actually give me in the comment section below. With that being said, it's been your boy. Take care.